The invitation to the crucible. The message arrived not in words, but in a sound, a deep, metallic chime that echoed through the United Earth Coalition's main orbital station. Every diplomat and military leader in the chamber went still. The signal was ancient, unmistakable, an invitation to the cradle of blood and bone. General Hayes narrowed his eyes at the pulsing symbol on the central holo display. They're mocking us. No one argued. The cradle was not just any tournament. It was the galaxy's most sacred blood sport, a test of supremacy where each species sent its apex predator, warrior, or executioner. There were no rules inside the arena, only survival. Honor, debt, and territorial rights were often settled through combat there. For humanity, newly admitted into the Galactic Council, this was a humiliation thinly veiled as welcome. "We shouldn't go," said Admiral Lynn, folding her arms. "We're not ready. Not yet. They want to see if we bleed like prey," muttered Hayes. "Pull out now, and we confirm every insult they've hurled our way." Arguments followed. Some wanted to send Earth's best combat cyborg. Others favored a tactical AI inside a walking warframe. Names were offered. All turned it down. Even elite soldiers hesitated when faced with the cradle's death toll. Then a quiet voice broke through. "I'll go." Everyone turned. At the far end of the hall stood a slender young woman, arms folded behind her back, black hair tied in a tight braid. Her expression was unreadable, her presence ghost-like. She didn't look like a warrior, more like a student who had wandered into the wrong room. "Lyra," Hayes blinked. "This isn't a sparring mat. It's a meat grinder." "I know," she said calmly. "Send me." "No offense," muttered Lynn, "but what are you going to do in there? Meditate them to death." Lyra said nothing. Instead, she stepped forward and laid a single thin folder on the table. Inside was a certification from an extinct combat discipline, stillhand neurology combat, passed down orally, never digitized, banned during Earth's global peace accords for its lethality. "Your grandmother taught you this?" Hayes asked after flipping through it. "There are rumors this stuff could shut down organs with a single strike." "Urban legends." "Legends start somewhere," Lyra said simply. After 2 hours of deliberation and no better volunteers, Earth submitted her name. The Galactic Council barely acknowledged the decision, registering her as Human Participant 01. She would be the last fighter added to the tournament roster. No interviews, no hype. In the weeks leading up to the event, Lyra trained in silence aboard the diplomatic vessel Hopefire. No sponsors visited her. No galactic media covered her. The other competitors, many of whom towered over her, mocked her in passing. One tried to start a fight in the training bay. She simply stepped aside, let his strike pass, and tapped a nerve cluster under his jaw. He crumpled to the floor, convulsing. The incident was dismissed by the arena staff as a lucky nerve hit. Human biology, the physician sneered, a fluke. No one took it seriously. Then came the opening day. The cradle of blood and bone was carved into a dead planet's crust, its walls forged from the ruins of species long extinct. Millions watched from orbit, while trillions more tuned in from across the stars. Hollow specters hovered, narrating in every galactic tongue. Drums thundered. Lights flared. The first 10 competitors roared into the arena, hulking behemoths with obsidian skin, razor claws, gravity-manipulating armor, or telepathic shockwaves. And then she walked in. No fanfare, no weapon, just a simple black training GI and bare feet stepping softly over the crimson-stained arena floor. Her presence was so small, the cameras almost missed her. "Is that a child?" Someone in the crowd jeered. "Wait, did Earth send a monk?" "No, it's a ritual sacrifice." Better ratings. Lyra stood at the far end of the arena, not reacting. Her breathing was steady. Her eyes drifted closed. Around her, warriors roared, flexed, sharpened weapons. But she stood still, hands relaxed at her sides. From the top viewing platform, Tournament Master V.A. Tharn, a towering alien of 7 limbs and plated bone armor, leaned forward. His voice echoed across the arena. "All combatants confirmed. Begin the trial of survival." And with that, the games began. The Path of Shadows. The arena floor was a battlefield of screams and steel. Lyra stood still. All around her, the galaxy's deadliest species tore into one another. A thunder-limbed Drock broke a reptilian Thress in half with a hammer fist. Twin Hykari assassins phased through solid rock, reappearing behind a lumbering war beast to sever its spine. Plasma crackled, bones shattered, and the audience roared. But Lyra didn't move. She stood at the edge, feet shoulder-width apart, watching. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't trembling. She was observing, calculating, noting movement patterns, weaknesses in armor, over-reliance on strength. Her breathing remained even, like she was meditating beneath a waterfall, not standing in a pit of slaughter. From the high balcony, Tournament Master V.A. Tharn observed her through multiple spectrum lenses. She wasn't just still. Her body temperature, pulse, and neuroelectric activity remained almost unnaturally flat. She was either transcendently calm or completely mad. "She has no chance," growled Lord Karzul, the Creighton warlord sitting beside him, a pebble among storms. V.A. Tharn said nothing. His compound eyes narrowed. 3 hours later, 34 competitors remained. Lyra still hadn't made a single move, until one came to her. He was a Gorathox, 3 meter tall, bipedal predator from a methane world, skin armored like volcanic glass, with mandibles stained by fresh kills. He had already decapitated 2 opponents and absorbed a kinetic lance blast without flinching. Spotting her alone near the edge of the arena, he grinned and charged. The crowd howled for blood. Lyra didn't move until he was within arm's reach. Then she stepped sideways, barely a shift, so his claw skimmed past her. Her right hand rose slowly, palm open, and tapped a spot just behind his left ear. It was a strange gesture. Gentle, almost apologetic. The Gorathox stumbled mid-swing. He blinked, then dropped, just collapsed. No scream, no blood, just a silent thud as the galaxy's most physically imposing combatant lay unconscious at her feet. The arena went quiet. Even the announcers fumbled their lines. Seems to be incapacitated, possibly a fatigue. The med bots scanned the Gorathox and pulled him off the field. No wounds, no toxins, no neural override. The official report listed the cause as unknown synaptic seizure. Arena legal contact confirmed. The other fighters began to take notice. Back in the preparation chambers, Lyra sat cross-legged on a mat, sipping warm broth. Her bunkmate, an avian telepath named SYEH, tilted her head curiously. "You are strange, human." Lyra nodded. "I've been told. You don't broadcast emotion. Most species leak thoughts, fear, anger. Yours is a void." "How?" Lyra looked at her calmly. "Stillness is trained. It's not natural. It's the first technique of my art." "Your art?" SYEH chirped. "My grandmother called it the way of the still hand. She said stillness is the blade between the blades." SYEH frowned. "That makes no sense." "It will," Lyra murmured, sipping again. The next day's matches were faster, more brutal. Alliances formed and dissolved in moments. 3 competitors launched an ambush against Kortal, the reigning champion, a towering apex predator from the bone worlds of Gurus Prime. His skin was like pale steel, his eyes devoid of pity. He killed all 3 in under 30 seconds, tearing the last one apart with his bare hands. Then, from across the arena, he locked eyes with Lyra. She didn't flinch. He snarled, raising his blood-soaked fists toward the sky. "That one dies last," he roared. "I want her to watch." The crowd screamed their approval. Betting odds adjusted instantly. She was now ranked dead last again. That night, Lyra received a visitor. Tournament Master Tharn stepped silently into her quarters, flanked by 2 honor guards. Lyra stood, bowed politely. "Human," he said, voice like grinding gravel. "You have caused discomfort among our sponsors. They question your legitimacy." "I understand," she said. "They see no violence in you. Only accidents. They are bored." She met his gaze, unblinking. "Then they don't understand what they're watching." V.A. Tharn tilted his head. "Enlighten me." Lyra pointed to her chest. "Most fight with muscle. Some with power. But the nervous system controls it all. Strike the wrong point, and the body obeys no command. It collapses. That's what they felt. The tournament master looked thoughtful. You claim precision can silence apex predators? I don't claim, she said. I demonstrate. V.A. Tharn turned to leave. Tomorrow is the final. You will face Cradle. I suggest you bleed well. He tends to savor the soft ones. Lyra bowed again, then sat down and resumed her stillness. Outside, the arena lights dimmed. The crowd expected a spectacle of brutality. Lyra was preparing to show them something worse. The final duel. The arena was packed beyond capacity. Orbiting warships beamed the final match to hundreds of systems. Holograms danced over cities, moons, and merchant hubs. Billions watched, waiting for the spectacle they had been promised. The slaughter of the strange human girl by the galaxy's undefeated apex predator. Cradle, the Bone Reaver, entered the arena first. 10 feet tall, armored in living plates that flexed with every breath, his body was a history of war. Scars glowed faintly across his pale gray flesh. His claws, serrated like bone saws, flexed in anticipation. Cybernetic spikes had been driven into his spine for enhanced reflexes. He snarled at the crowd and beat his chest, causing shockwaves that made the ground quake. The crowd chanted his name. Cradle, Cradle, Cradle. Then Lyra stepped onto the arena floor. No music, no lights, just the soft tap of her bare feet against dust and stone. She wore the same black training GI. No armor, no weapon. Her hands were empty, her face unreadable. Boos echoed across the stadium. Laughter followed. Is this a joke? Why send a prey animal into a pit of gods? Cradle pointed at her with one massive claw. You will not die quickly, he growled. You will understand why we dominate. Lyra said nothing. She stopped 10 paces away and bowed her head lightly, as if greeting a master before a lesson. At the top of the arena, Tournament Master V.A. Tharn raised one hand. Final match. Combatants ready. Cradle bared his fangs. Lyra nodded once. The hand dropped. A sound rang out. Not a roar, not a shout, but a whomp like air being torn apart. Cradle lunged forward, faster than any being his size should move, claws ready to shear her in two. Lyra didn't dodge. She stepped in. Her entire body shifted like wind through a crack, impossibly fluid, impossibly fast. Her right arm lifted, not with force, but with precision, and her fingertips landed gently behind his left ear. A single tap, a soundless moment. Cradle froze mid-stride. His expression twisted, not in pain, but in confusion. His eyes blinked rapidly. His limbs trembled. Then he collapsed. Not staggered, not wounded, just gone, as if someone had flipped a switch. His giant body hit the floor with a seismic boom. His chest rose and fell slowly. He was alive, unharmed, but utterly unconscious. The arena went silent, not stunned into silence, but hollow, breathless, as if the entire crowd forgot how to process what had just happened. A murmur spread. What happened? Is he playing dead? No one can move that fast. A dozen drones swarmed the scene. Arena AI scanned Cradle from head to toe. Vitals, stable. Neural override, none detected. Consciousness, absent. Cause, localized synaptic shutdown via physical contact. Winner, human competitor 0-1, Lyra. The stadium erupted, but not with cheers. It was disbelief, outrage, awe, and fear all at once. Entire civilizations had watched their greatest warrior fall without shedding a drop of blood. V.A. Tharn rose from his platform and stared down at the field, voice amplified across all systems. Let the record show, the human did not break the rules. No weapons, no tech, no toxin, one legal strike. He looked at Lyra, eyes narrowing. What are you? She met his gaze for the first time. Her voice was calm. A student. Later, in the victor's chamber, Lyra sat alone. No chance echoed for her. No sponsors knocked on her door. The galaxy didn't understand what it had seen, so it tried to pretend it hadn't happened. V.A. Tharn arrived, this time without guards. He studied her quietly. I have watched 1,000 warriors fight in this arena. I have seen flame-breathing titans fall to psionic storms. But I have never seen silence defeat a champion. Lyra shrugged. No system trains for stillness. Everyone moves. Everyone strikes. But if you study enough. She raised her hand and pointed to a spot behind his left ear. Va Tharn froze. She let the moment hang, then slowly lowered her hand. You realize where the power lies. The tournament master gave a slow, respectful nod. I underestimated your species. Lyra smiled faintly. Everyone does. Across the galaxy, the ripples began. Some mocked the event as a fluke. Others studied the footage frame by frame. A few high-tier military academies added human neuromotor combat to their theoretical modules. Secretly, governments sent envoys to Earth, hoping to learn the ancient art of the still hand. But Lyra vanished. No one saw her board the Earth vessel. No media recorded her return. She left behind no grand speech, no legend written by her own hand, just silence, and a broken champion who, when he finally woke, could say only one thing. She didn't fight me. She erased me. The legacy of stillness. Weeks passed. The cradle of blood and bone closed its gates, the arena falling silent once more. New conflicts consumed the stars. Old rivalries reignited. But the image of a lone human girl felling the galaxy's mightiest champion with a single motion lingered like smoke on the wind. No one could forget it, not because it was loud or glorious, but because it was the opposite, a victory too quiet to explain, too clinical to dismiss, too terrifying to ignore. On Earth, the United Council debated behind closed doors. They had expected a loss, a symbolic gesture, maybe. Instead, Lyra had shattered every assumption the galaxy held about humanity. She exposed them, General Hayes said, pacing the war room floor. She cut past their armor, past their power fantasies, straight to the soft center. And now they're afraid, added Admiral Lin. They've seen what one unarmed girl can do. What if there are more? There weren't. At least, not yet. But the potential was enough. Entire species began re-evaluating their military doctrines. Treaties were delayed. Border patrols were increased. Human ships were watched more closely. Fear wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was methodical. 1,000 years of galactic order had just shifted by an inch, and it was enough to make empires nervous. On the other side of the stars, in a domed monastery atop the frozen cliffs of Arcarii, an old woman stirred her tea and smiled. I told them, she whispered to no one. Stillness is not weakness. It is awareness sharpened to a blade. Across from her, a child, barely 10, mimicked her movements. Delicate hands, precise breath. The same black GI, the same focus. Grandmaster, the child asked, was she really your granddaughter? She was a student, the old woman replied softly. Like you, like all of us. The galaxy wanted to forget her, but Lyra's name persisted, in whispers in Black Ops simulations, in the paranoid dreams of warlords. Cortal, once the undefeated champion, never fought again. He returned to his world a changed being, quieter, slower, haunted. In his final address to the Garan War Council, he said only one sentence. Power is not in domination. It is in the restraint of a closed fist. Then he vanished into exile, becoming a myth on his own war-torn world. In a low-orbit outpost on the edge of the Heron Cluster, a squad of alien mercenaries sparred in their downtime. Tough, brutal fighters trained for birth. One of them, a towering Drexer with bone-plated fists, scoffed at the mention of the human girl. Lucky strike, he grunted. Freak accident. Another, older and smaller, looked up from sharpening a blade. Go on then, he said. Show us how easy it is. Pretend I'm her. The Drexer laughed, stepped forward, and in 2 seconds was on the ground, twitching. The others stared. What did you do? Someone whispered. The smaller fighter shrugged. Stillness. She taught it to 3 of us before disappearing. Where is she now? He only smiled. Watching. Lyra didn't return to Earth. She didn't stay in the stars. Instead, she vanished like a shadow in wind, slipping between planets, always one step ahead of the questions. Her name became an anomaly in training records, a ghost in holographic archives, a warning in military briefings. Some say she took students across dozens of species, taught them not how to fight, but how to see, to move without ego, to strike with purpose, not pride. The art of still-hand combat did not spread like wildfire. It crept like roots beneath the soil, until one day, long after the Cradle's final duel had faded into memory, a new warrior entered a different tournament. This time on the crimson moons of Vashtar Prime. A young female combatant. Slender. Unarmed. She bowed before the duel, struck once, and left her opponent paralyzed. The judges asked who trained her. She only said, she never gave us her full name. Just a lesson, and a choice. To end fights before they begin. Epilogue. A message arrived on Earth. Untraceable. Encoded in an obsolete frequency. It contained no threats, no demands. Just a single sentence. Stillness walks among the stars now. You were right to let her go. General Hayes read it twice. He didn't know who sent it, but he smiled anyway and said to no one, I hope she never stops walking.